All right, on this video, you're going to learn how to glue your frame pieces together. So they've been routed and cut. You've done some hand sanding now to remove all of the big little marks, pencil marks, saw marks, tooling, all the things like that, the ridges from the planer. All those are gone now. So now we're going to start joining these together. So one thing I want to bring your attention to, we did this after disc sanding, was our numbering of angles here. So I've got 3 and a 3. So you always want to double check that these are joined up. Double check your fit again before we glue this together. So we have a 2 and a 2. And you got your initials on them as well, your first and last name, first and last initial and period number along with the numbers. That way you know they're gonna fit. You just want to fit this together, just kind of roughly, to make sure that you got the pieces organized right. If you have 2 very slightly different colors of wood, you should see 2 of them, their grains match here, and then 2 of them, their grains match there, with slightly different colors on each, okay? So what we're gonna do, again, you watch the whole video, answer the questions, let the teacher know you're ready to go back into the shop, and they'll make sure they're ready for that. So you're gonna take all of your pieces, again, making sure you get the right ones with your initials on them. And you're going to come over to the supply table, and you're actually going to find a bottle of glue with your table number on it. So I was at number 7. I'm gonna grab the number 7 bottle. It says the numbers right here on the board as well. Give it a little bit of a shake just to make sure the glue is nice and liquid. We are going to grab safety glasses. Again, if you do not wear glasses, get it from the top 3. If you do wear glasses, get it from the bottom 2. Since I'm not wearing glasses, I'm going to take from the top 3, and I am going to put those on right away. Then you're going to double check the teacher's ready, come into the shop, make sure you close it because people will be working. And you will once again come straight over to the hearing cabinet, hearing protection cabinet, to get your safety for your ears because people will be using the shop. Make sure you got those. Close the cabinet so that we don't get any dust in there. Put your ears on right away. And take your material. One other thing you're gonna do here at this spot is grab a paper towel. You need a paper towel for gluing on top of so that you don't get glue all over our workbenches. Then you'll pick one of the workbench stations for right away. We'll kind of have them both open. As we get going into people starting to stand and finish, then we'll have some other spots for that. Okay, one other thing you're gonna need is your table's frames, your frame clamps. So you're gonna come over to this pegboard in the corner and you will find your table number. It's 1 through 5 up top, 6 through 10 on the middle, and 11 through 14 and a spare in the bottom. So I'm at number 7, so I'm gonna grab the number 7 clamps. Please just be careful when you're taking these off. Don't take them both off at the same time, take one at a time. That way the clips don't rip out of the pegboard and then you don't get them stuck, okay? So you're gonna grab your numbered clamps and come over to where your work is. Now, first thing you want to do is actually open these up a little bit. You can see some of them have never been used, so they're completely closed. You want to open these up. You take these little pins on the end. Make sure you got them long enough, and it's lefty-loosey. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, you're familiar. Open it up enough, just take one of your pieces and to make sure it fits in there. You don't want it to be tight, but you want it to be able to fit in there and adjust to it easily. So you need to go a little bit more on this one. Now, if you and your partner are both gluing at the same time, you'll only be able to use one clamp at a time. So you have to take turns. Okay, so you'll do one set of pieces and then you'll wait for that to dry, then you do the other set. Okay, so again, lefty-loosey with the clamps, getting them to open up enough so your pieces just fit inside. Just a little bit more. There we go. And get this last one set up. Now, the trick when you're using clamps, just something to remember, we'll talk about this later, is do not over-tighten the clamp. If you over-tighten the clamp, you will damage your wood. The whole purpose of the clamp is just to hold the joint where you're gluing together to make them solid and just hold it in place while the glue sets. It's not to damage the wood. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to take our matching pieces here. So I've got my number 1 and my number 1. We're going to join those together. And then just making sure you're laying out your frame in the correct direction. You don't want to get them out of order. So I got this long and short joined up here. I'm going to take these ones. This should be 3 and 3, which they are. So that will be another set. So I'll show you how to do this twice during the video. Again, you may only be able to do it once at a time, one at a time, if you and your partner are both in the gluing phase, okay? So you've got your clamps, you got your glue, you've got your wood here, and your paper towel. So what we're gonna do is put the clamp here on top of your paper towel. That way it is fully there. There shouldn't really be a whole lot extra on there, okay? But we're gonna go with it. So what you're gonna do with the wood is we don't wanna cover this whole big thing with a big glob of glue. We're just gonna put a couple little dabs on there, and then we're gonna spread it with our fingers, but there's a little trick to it. So prep for that, I'm gonna put in my 3s together here. Again, little shake of the glue, sometimes it settles out. And do a quick test little squirt on the paper towel, make sure it's nice and looks kind of like a little thick wood glue, which it does. So what we're gonna do is just take our glue here, and we're going to just put like 3 dots. There's 1, there's 2, and then there's 3. 3 little dots of glue, you can see. And then we're gonna take our pinky and spread that lightly. I'm not going all the way out to the edge. I'm just spreading that lightly to a really thin little coat. Okay, it doesn't go all the way to the edge. I'm gonna do that on the other one as well. So I've got a 1 dot. And then I've got 2 dots. And 3 little dots of glue. Once I've got that on, I'm going to close the glue bottle by turning to the right, turning the little cap to the right, and then wipe that off. You need to get that cleaned off so it doesn't seal itself shut. Then again, take my pinky and spread that glue lightly. Again, not out past the edges, not all the way to the edge of the wood. Just getting it kind of sticky, okay? Now that's gonna sit on there for just a moment. If you look at this one, it's kind of setting up a little bit, but it's still a little sticky. So what we're gonna do then is one last time, put a couple dots of glue on here. Didn't have it opened up all the way, that might help. So one more time, get a couple little dots of glue just on the one side, and then we're going to kind of smear it, and we wipe your pinky off real quick on the paper towel. Then immediately, while the glue is still damp, we should close the bottle quick. We're going to take those 2 surfaces down here in the clamp, and the trick with this is you keep these pieces pushed tight against the frame, and then you just kind of slide them back and forth until they meet up. It's even easier though if you do it so you can see the inside bevel. We should have done that first. So you can see the routed edge here. That's easier, so keep them flat and just kind of adjust them side to side till your corners match up. You can see the corners on the inside match up, corners on the outside match up. When that happens, you're going to kind of take this to the edge of the table. So make sure I'm staying square. Make sure my piece is staying tight on the inside of the frame. And just lightly turn the clamp so it's just snug and holds that piece in place. Your corners are still there. Just tightening that up lightly so that holds your piece. And that is going to just stay there in that clamp, nice and square, okay? Check for any squeeze out. There's no squeeze out. We don't want a ton of glue and stuff squeezing out of that. We just want it to tack together. Because what we're gonna do once this is all dry and we're gonna glue the whole frame together, we're actually gonna shoot some nails, one in from each side, to help hold that all together so it stays together. So we want just enough glue to make it stick, not enough glue to glob out. So that's kind of the process. I'm gonna show you one more time over here. So again, we've got the frame here ready. And take our 1 corners. Those will be joining up. I'll be smart about it this time and do it with the routed edge visible. That way you can see it all. So I'm gonna get those lined up. Make sure glue bottle's cleaned off so the glue doesn't clog it up. Turn to the lefty-loosey. Again, 3 dots of glue and spread it out so it can start to get tacky. You can get close to the edge, but don't go out all the way to the edge. Again, you want to spread the glue around so it's a nice, thin, even coat of glue. Quickly do the other one. 1, 2, 3 dots of glue. And then wipe that around. Nice, thin coat of glue. And wipe off your pinky real quick. That should be setting up nicely. Make sure there's no little runoffs in the end. Okay, they're both tacking up, so we're going to put one more little bit of glue on this thing and close the bottle, and then we're gonna get them into the clamps. So 1, 2 blobs of glue, small blobs of glue. Quick, spread that out, wipe your pinky really fast. Close the bottle, and then get these in the clamp as soon as you can. And again, we are lining up corners, keeping them flat, keeping them flush against the inside of the frame, and so that they can be square. Again, you're just kind of sliding them back and forth, left and right, until they all match up. Once you get them so that they do, you're going to lightly turn the clamp to the right, and lightly turn the clamp to the right, so that they are stuck in there. And again, checking that my corners are still flush. Everything matches up. Now there will be a little gap, things on here. We can fill that with wood filler in the next step. So once this is all dry. So this is the first step of gluing. These need to stay in the clamps a minimum of 15 minutes, we prefer 20 or 30. So depending on when you do this during class, you may have to wait till the next day, okay? Because you want both of these to be totally cured and dried before we glue them together. So once they're both fully dry, the next step will be similar process, but we'll take these 2 corner parts and actually join them together with the clamps on the other corners to make the frame, okay? So we're gonna set up these apart and let them dry. You can keep them on the clamps and you'll have a cleared off spot over on the shelves for your class period. They'll be labeled for that. After about 15-20 minutes, you can carefully remove them from the shelves and then from the clamps. And then we will have them ready because they need to be out of clamps for the next class period so that the next class can use them. All right, so we're gonna let these dry and we'll come back with gluing them all together. Okay, so now once you've set your frames aside to dry, like I said, for at least 15-20 minutes, possibly till the next day, depending on when in class you did that. You're going to bring them over to a workbench and remove them from the clamps carefully. Again, lefty-loosey, so you're going to turn them counterclockwise. Just a couple of turns just to get them loose. You don't want to open them all the way up. You can leave them open like that so that your partner or the next group from the next class period can use the same setup. I'm going to take both of these out. Now again, you probably won't be able to do them both at the same time if you and your partner are in the same step. So you may have to take turns doing them one at a time. So you see we have the two pieces here glued together. Yes, there's a little bit of a gap here, which we can fill that, no problem. And on the back side, a little bit of a gap isn't as big of a deal as on the front. So what we're going to do, just making sure we got our numbers matching up. So we got our 2 to 2 here and our 4 to 4 here, which is just what we want. So these should match up nice and straight and make good 90-degree corners there. Now when we glue this together, depending on how your partner is doing at your station, depends whether or not you get to use the clamps. So if they're still gluing pieces together, you can't use these. Now I'm going to show you just the setup so that you could use them if you work by yourself or if your partner is not at your step. Same basic idea. We're just going to set the clamp. So if you see this part here, this angle is the inside of the corner, so it would sit on the inside like that again, okay? So when you set this up to do a test fit and get everything kind of loaded in, you'd have it under this corner and also under this corner at the same time. So you want to get it all kind of set up at the same time so it's ready to go. And then we do the same thing with the glue bottle. 3 dots, spread it, 3 dots, spread it, and then do that to this side, 3 dots spread, 3 dots spread, and do a couple dots at each one on one side here, and then put them in and clamp them together. Okay, so it would be the same basic setup that we did for the other ones. You just have to get it set up and squared fairly quickly and apply that pressure evenly. Kind of get one corner set while still checking that the other is square. Get that clamped in, then you can move to the other corner. Now, what more likely will happen is your partner will be using the clamps, so you won't be able to do that. So I'm going to show you another technique we have that uses painter's tape. And if you need to use this method, then you can get this from your teacher. So what we're going to do is make sure we have our paper towel underneath our paper here. We're going to prep the corners, the 2 corners that need to be joined. Get about 2 inches or so of painter's tape, and then we line that up so it is halfway on one edge here, so it's right even and flush with the edge, and rub that side on real good. Now if you have a bevel or the round over, just be careful not to get too much on there. Curl it over because you don't want to interfere with the glue. Do the same thing to the other side. About halfway through the tape, on the edge, rub that on there. Okay, then we're going to get this down on the table, line it up nice and straight, get the corners square, and just double check that they are ready to go. And then what you're going to do is on one of these corners, you're going to wrap the tape just on one of the corners. So then it's going to open up like this, and we'll set that on the table so those corners are touching. As you can see right here, they're ready to go. So we're going to do our glue dots and smears on there. So if you closed your glue bottle properly last time and cleaned it off, you should be good and you shouldn't have to worry. So we'll open it up. We're going to do our 3 dots and our smears. So we got our dot, dot, dot. I need a little more in the middle one. And we're going to smear it. Again, making sure we don't go out, clear out to the edge. And it'll just start kind of tacking up there. We're going to do our knock it over. That's always fun. It's a possibility with a round over. So then we're gonna do our 3 dots here, and we'll put them on the same time here. And of course it tips over again. So then we're going to smudge. Again, just getting that glue spread out. Not all the way to the edge, but close. That one got a little heavier because the bottle was sticking down lower. So I have a lot of extra glue on my finger. So I'm just gonna rub that on there right now. Okay, so you can see this one down here, you might be able to see has a lot of extra glue. So it has enough for the gluing. These outside ones need just a touch more. So I'm gonna add those couple of dots to my first one here. Once it's tacked up, spread that thinly. And then what we're gonna do is lay this flat on the table and get it all lined up, squared up. Make sure our taped corner stays right. And we're going to tape wrap this other corner. Now's where you can wrap that tape underneath. Okay. And we're going to kind of hold this just to help it along. You're gonna have to hold it for a minute or so on the corners, kind of pinching those corners together, but then also making sure that they're staying lined up. So you can see there's a little bit of squeeze out right here. We're gonna leave that for a minute or two until it starts to set up, and then we can scrape that off. If you try to smudge it now when it's fresh and wet, then it won't, it'll make a big old mess. So now that's on there, we're gonna close our bottle. Ready, tidy. Wipe that off so that the bottle is clean. And then we will get this on the shelf again, making sure we know where we're at. You may want to write your name on the paper towel so you know who it is, and we'll put that on your class period shelf. And again, once the glue has set up for a couple of minutes, we'll go ahead and scrape that off. Okay, please remember to clean up your area and clean this off. So once you got that kind of cleaned up and you were able to scrape that off, you should be able to just get it off with your fingernail. If not, I have a little bit of scraper we can use. So it just comes off in a little chunk. So we'll wipe that off. Again, this goes on the shelf, on your assigned shelf over here, which will get cleaned up before you use it. Okay, this then, teacher will have that. Your clamps need to go back onto your rack. So these are number 7 clamps. Finding the number 7 spot on the board. Notice the outline and the number hangs like that. So make sure they hang this way, goes through the hole. You can come back and make sure you have your stuff cleaned up. Again, the teacher will have the tape. You've got your glue, it's closed. You still got your hearing protection and your safety glasses on. So you will come over back to the safety glass, or to the hearing protection cabinet. You will put your hearing protection away. Make sure it's in there nice and good. Close the door. And then you're going to come back out into the classroom. You're going to get your safety glasses put away properly into the cabinet. And then close. And then lastly, take your glue bottle, match your number up to the board. Make sure that is there and it is closed and cleaned off. That is it for the steps. You'll go to your station, prep for the next step on the video until your glue is dry, and we'll pick up later. Thanks.